Classic against Boston. Scoreless in the 15th till that. A 2-run crank by A-Rod, his first homer in 72 at bat. 9th career walk-off gives the Yanks their biggest lead in the AL East of 4.5 games. Well, after a quick nap, the boys are back at it today in the Bronx. Jeter, he doesn't need much sleep, does he? He's ready to talk a good game and play one as they're looking for their third straight W against the boys from Beantown. Meanwhile, in Anaheim, Michael Young and the Rangers won the opener of a 3-game set last night. They're within 3.5 of Bobby Abreu and the first-place Halos in the AL West. It's a pair of 1 versus 2 divisional matchups today on Fox as we come to you from sunny Southern California. And with that, we welcome you to Bedrock. It is also known as Anaheim. It is Fox Saturday Baseball, all presented by Gillette Body Wash. First pitch at either one of your games coming to you in just a few minutes. But first, the latest news on Big Papi. And on Saturday, David Ortiz held a press conference in conjunction with the Major League Baseball Players Association to dispute any positive steroid test from 2003. In fact, the union and MLB says that number of 104 names that you've heard, it's not right. It may only be 96 and as few as 83. Now, the union also said testing wasn't nearly as accurate in 2003 as it is today, in part because any legalized supplement, such as androstenedione, would have resulted in a positive sample back then. Also, any player who initially tested positive was told to cease any use of supplements and then was retested again 7 days later. Now, Ortiz doesn't know if he fell into that last category, but he was adamant about the S word.
I definitely was a little bit careless back in those days when I was buying supplements and vitamins over the counter, legal supplement, legal vitamins over the counter. But I never buy steroids or use steroids. But I never thought that buying supplements and vitamins, it was gonna hurt anybody's feelings, you know, and if that happened, you know, I'm sorry about that. I was never told that I test positive for steroids. That's why when I had my statement, I talked to you guys that I was kind of surprised about the news because I wasn't too much involved with it. But like I said, you know, I'm not here to make any excuses or anything.
David, since 2003, have you been tested again, and what has been those results?
Since that, I've been tested 15 or more times, and I have never tested positive for a steroid. I've been tested 2 times for WBC too. Nobody has ever come out to me with anything.
Ortiz, who is in the lineup today, added he doesn't want all the names on the list revealed because he doesn't wish anyone to endure what he's gone through over the last 10 days. Our Ken Rosenthal is in New York City and has more on the latest chapter.
Chris, this is the first time the union has publicly raised questions about the government's list of 104 players who tested positive for steroids. For one thing, the union says the number isn't 104. It's actually 83 positive tests, and those could have come from fewer than 83 players. Also, the government's definition of a positive test might be different than the union's. The union's point? Don't draw absolute conclusions. We don't know the absolute truth. Earlier today, I caught up with Terry Francona.
I think David feels like a big weight has been lifted. I think we'll be a little naive to think that we won't have to deal with questions going forward. In every city you go to, you're going to get questions, and that's okay. We can answer them. We couldn't answer them before, but I think David feels like a big weight's been lifted.
From positive results to results on the field, baseball's next from New Yorker Anaheim. See you from Bedrock. Wilma, I'm home.
On the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and only a 3.5 game spread between the two teams in the West. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Eric Karras, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Baseball on Fox. At 14 games over 500, are the Rangers for real? Well, you better believe the Angels would say yes. Texas has beaten L.A. 8 out of 10 times so far this year.
Well, you just wonder, in the past, it's always been about offense. And sure, the Rangers are leading all of Major League Baseball in home runs, but they're doing it with their pitching. Since the All-Star break, first in the American League in ERA and batting average against. On the flip side, the Angels, who have done it historically with pitching, are doing it with offense, first in all of Major League Baseball in hitting. We'll see what bends today. Kevin Millwood for the Rangers, or the offense led by Bobby Abreu.
It is Kevin Millwood, and he will be opposed by Jared Weaver, having a good season for the Angels. Boy, Texas flexing their muscles here last night, hitting 5 home runs in a game, 3 in the 5th inning, to pull within 3.5 for the West. First pitch, game 2 of this series, next on Fox. Starting lineup for the Texas Rangers, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Omar Vizquel at second base had 4 hits in the game last night. Michael Young at third, Marlon Byrd in center field batting third. Andrew Jones a DH. Batting cleanup, Josh Hamilton in the lineup. He's a big story today. More on that in a moment. Hank Blaylock down at first, the latter third of David Murphy. Taylor Teagarden for Jared Saltalamacchia behind the plate. And Elvis Andrus is at shortstop. And on the mound, 26-year-old right-hander, an 11-game winner against just 3 losses this year, is Jared Weaver.
Hey, he had a nice start in his last one against the Minnesota Twins. Had a career-high strikeout of 11. But for him to be effective, he's got to keep the ball in the park. Texas has hit 25 home runs against the Angels this year, and he's got to give the Angels some innings. Joe Saunders didn't get out of the second last night. That bullpen has been taxed.
That is the Sprint pitcher profile on Jared Weaver. Now it's time for the Budweiser opening pitch. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. I know you touched on it a moment ago, but it really is fascinating when you think where these teams have been in recent memory, where they are now. The fact that we're talking about a Texas team that's playing outstanding defense. They're pitching very, very well. They're not the juggernaut offensively they have been in years past, whereas Anaheim has always been among the best teams pitching-wise in baseball, but this year down in that category, but not going to cover off the ball.
Yeah, when you talk to Mike Scioscia, you talk to hitting coach Mickey Hatcher, and everybody will tell you they have never seen this Angel offense any better than what they've seen this last few months.
Omar Vizquel, coming off a 4-hit night, clubbed a home run for the first time in 2 years in a game. He looks at a strike and this game is underway. Texas has just dominated Mike Scioscia's club in 10 games so far this season, winning 8 of the 10. And when you look inside the numbers from an offensive standpoint, they are staggering for Texas. 25 home runs the Rangers have hit against the Angels in the 10 games.
See Ron Washington right there, and we had a chance to speak to him prior to the game, and he's not going to complain about the way they score runs, but he'd like to do it a bit differently. Like to hit and run, like to run guys, put a little more pressure on the team rather than sit back and wait for the home runs. But the reality is that's the type of team he has. So he's not going to go out and force the team to do things that they're not capable of.
Swing and a miss, and Vizquel gone on strikes to begin the ballgame. Let's take a look at the Angels defensively. Juan Rivera in left field. Gary Matthews Jr. for the injured Torrey Hunter in center. Bobby Abreu having a great second half in right. Figgins, Ibar, Kendrick, and Morales in the infield. Weaver and Mathis the battery. Michael Young has made the position change from short to third. It's still swinging the bat, and he has been red hot of lately. He comes into play today with a 14-game hitting streak. A ball and a strike.
But you talk about the position change, doing it at the big league level and still having a great offensive year. Usually that takes away from a guy because they're spending so much time focusing on, I've got a new position, I've got to learn things. But it hasn't impacted Michael Young at all.
During the 14-game hitting streak, Young has been a .463 batter. 7 home runs, including 1 in the 5th inning last night, and has knocked in a run per game during the stretch. Fouled away. Still 1 ball and 2 strikes. In fact, in the game last night, the Rangers hit 3 home runs in the 5th inning. One of them by Young, his 19th of the year. 2-2.
Well, you talk about those 3 home runs in 1 inning. It was in a series of 9 pitches as well. And that's something that, watching the game and looking at Mike Scioscia and pitching coach John Butcher in the dugout, they weren't real excited about that. It's one thing to give up a home run here or there, but to give up 3 without knocking somebody down or showing your presence on the mound, that's not Angel baseball.
Drifting out into short right field, the second baseman Kendrick for the second out of the inning. So now Marlon Byrd. Byrd, after bouncing around a great deal early in his career where he never really got a chance to play on a regular basis, has been given that chance the last 2 years in Texas. And he has played very well for this team. Obviously batting in a 3-hole in the lineup without Ian Kinsler today. He's on the DL. But 11 home runs, 53 RBIs, 33 doubles for Marlon Byrd. Strike 1.
Well, I remember him coming up in the Philadelphia Philly organization, and he was a heralded prospect. Played well for a bit, but never seemed to get comfortable. But it's one thing about being given an opportunity. It's another thing about being able to take advantage of that opportunity, and that's what Marlon Byrd has done here in Texas.
Not only are the Rangers 3.5 behind the Angels in the West, they are now just 1 game in back of Boston in the American League wild card race. And for so long there, I think everybody just assumed the way the Red Sox were playing, well, they're going to be in the playoffs. Well, now all of a sudden, here we are, the end of the first week of August, and there is a legitimate race going on between Texas and Boston in the wild card.
You see that fastball right by Marlon Byrd. You're absolutely right. You talk about the wild card race, and let's not forget Tampa Bay as well. I mean, that's a ball club that has not played its best baseball up to this point. And Joe Madden, manager, feels like they've still got something left in their tank over this last month and a half.
Tampa Bay 2.5 out of the wild card, and really Seattle still just 5.5 back. Breaking ball, a check swing and a miss, and that is that. A very solid opening frame for Jared Weaver. So Kevin Millwood will face the highest scoring team in baseball when we return. Ramir Guerrero back in the DH spot. Juan Rivera in left field. Kendry Morales at first. The latter third of Gary Matthews Jr., Howie Kendrick, and Jeff Mathis. And on the mound for the Rangers, their ace again this season. A 9-game winner is right-hander Kevin Millwood with a sparkling 3.39 ERA.
Yeah, and that's good for a top 10 in the American League, and he's really been the horse of this staff. And he's taken to it, too. Nolan Ryan challenged him prior to the season, and he's responded.
That ball driven into left center field, but Bird had it played perfectly and runs it down for the first out. Take a look at the sprint pitcher profile for Kevin Millwood.
Kevin Millwood has to have the Angels earn their way down to first base. You don't want to give them walks. Then Mike Socha will start moving them around. He has to be a pain in the butt, and he can't have a pain in the butt. That's what's kept him out for almost 2 weeks. Had a strained gluteal muscle.
I like your word for it.
Pain in the butt. Well, yeah, there you go.
That's right.
It's a family show. But this is his first start since that Kansas City issue.
Yeah, he threw in Oakland the other day. They wanted to make sure he was A-OK. They really wanted him to go in this series. And here he is on the mound on this Saturday afternoon, facing the highest scoring team in all of Major League Baseball, the LA Angels of Anaheim. A big reason why, the way this guy right now has swung the bat after he was demoted, brought back up to the major leagues, has been nearly impossible to get out.
Yeah, Eric Ibar has had a wonderful last month as well, too. Not only hitting getting on base, but slugging as well.
Pulled to the right side, gobbled up by Vizquel, making his 10th career start at second base today, and there are 2 outs in the inning. A vastly improved Texas defense. Murphy, Bird, and Hamilton in the outfield. Young, Andrus, Vizquel, Blaylock. A lot of positional changes in that group, and a battery of Millwood and Teagarden. For Sanders, they made the determination he would go to shortstop before spring training ever began. Moving Young over to third. Kinsler out right now with a strained hamstring. They hope to have him back within the 15-day time frame. And right now, Vizquel getting a little playing time at second. Strike one to Bobby Abreu. Abreu, quite simply, has been the best player in all of Major League Baseball going back to the beginning of June. There's no other way to say it. Was the American League Player of the Month in July, and there's a rocket into center field, a base hit. The numbers are just ridiculous for Abreu after a relatively slow start.
Doesn't do anything special up here, just gets the ball out over the plate, drives it right back up the middle. You know, that's really what he does as well as anybody, is take the pitch, go with it, doesn't try to do too much with anything. And that's allowed him to be very successful, as you mentioned, over the last 2 months.
Abreu 61 RBIs in the last 61 games. Hit 380 during July, and now he has this guy hitting behind him. Fastball up and in.
Well, that ball gets away from Kevin Millwood. Obviously doesn't want to go up there, but what they are trying to do is go hard inside to Vladdy Guerrero. And the reason for that, they don't feel that he's quick enough to get his hands through on a good inside fastball.
There goes a runner, pitch taken up and in, throw down to second, and they got him. What a great throw by Teagarden. And Millwood gave him a chance, and Millwood points in his catcher and says, job well done. No score at the end of one. Spread get more done with Nextel Direct Connect. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And by Ford, we speak car, we speak the all-new Ford Taurus. No score at the end of one. Jared Weaver to face Andrew Jones. Josh Hamilton, Hank Blaylock here in the Texas second inning. His first season as a Ranger, 17 home runs, 38 runs batted in. The Angels think this guy looks like the player used to be in Atlanta. That one lined into left center, run down by Matthews. Jones has 5 of his 17 home runs against Angels pitching this year, including 3 in one game.
Well, a bit of a resurgence last year with the Dodgers. Was never able to get on track. Only hit 3 home runs with the LA ball club. Slugged under less than 250. They moved him on.
Of course, a big story around baseball earlier today, again focused on this man, Josh Hamilton. Many of you know his story, a former #1 pick of the Tampa Bay Rays, and went through years and years of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, nearly killing himself in the process. Came back with Cincinnati, was traded to the Rangers, was a great story in the game all of last year. Had been alcohol-free, drug-free for the better part of 5 years. Well, apparently on a website earlier today, pictures showed up of Josh Hamilton one night in January, drinking excessively in Arizona while he was there to work out. And he addressed all of those questions before the game today. Eric, you and I were down there, and, you know, no one's had to answer questions about his past and the things that he has done more than Josh Hamilton. Become a deeply religious young man. He stood there, up front and honest as a person could be, and said, you know, it happened in January. The day after, I told the Texas Rangers, I told my wife. The Rangers contacted Major League Baseball. He has been drug tested every day since, every week since, and has still been clean. He said, I made a mistake. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm human. And anybody who has fought the demons of addiction the way Hamilton has, I think can certainly understand that. Ball in the air to right field. Room out there for Abreu, and there are 2 away in the inning. Let's take a look at our forward keys to the game today, Mr. Karros.
Well, again, one of them for the Rangers. Hamilton has to start hitting. Now, he hit the home run last night, but he's a real cog in this offense as compared to last year. He's got to get going. They cannot give the Angels any extra outs. The Rangers have to catch the ball. Big Daddy Vladimir Guerrero is back with this Angel ball club offensively. We'll see what he can do. And you've just got to keep the Rangers in the ballpark. As you mentioned, Andrew Jones, 5 home runs against the Angels. The Rangers, 25 home runs against this ball club. Got to keep them in the park.
Swing and a miss to Hank Blaylock, and quickly ahead is Weaver at no balls and 2 strikes. The Rangers score 46% of their runs via the home run ball. So not just the Angels who have to keep this team in the park. If you want to beat them each and every night all over the American League, you better keep them in the park.
Yeah, but again, with the Rangers, I mean, as you just mentioned, they rely on the home run to score. And if you're a team that relies on the long ball, that's great when you're going against the 4th and 5th starter, or you're going against those middle relief guys. But when you run into real solid pitching, if you're going to have to count on the home run, then it may be a long game for you.
And you brought it up earlier. Ron Washington clearly is not only first trying to change the culture of this Rangers franchise. There's a check swing and a miss, but he wants to change the way they play the game offensively. We'll talk more about that later. A perfect second for Weaver. No score in Anaheim. Bud Light Lime, the drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. Welcome back to Anaheim. No score, bottom of the second inning. Vladimir Guerrero looks at a pitch. Low and away for ball one. Guerrero at the plate when Abreu is thrown out trying to steal second base, ending the first inning. On the overshift, routine ground ball to Young, and a throw picked out of the dirt by Blaylock, one away. Let's check in with your good friend and mine, Mr. Karros, Chris Rose out there in center field.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? You know, EK, in the first inning, you talked about Kevin Millwood and how he got some friendly advice from Nolan Ryan, the Hall of Famer, and now the team president of the Texas Rangers. Now, Millwood probably didn't think he had to change much after last offseason. He's been the ace of his staff several times. He's been an all-star as well. But last year, Ryan kind of pulled him into the office and said, you have to change your body a little bit. You have to get in better shape. You have to be the undisputed number one. And I said, well, did it sink in, Kevin? He said, listen, if Nolan Ryan wants you to tie your shoes a different way, pal, you listen. So obviously he has heeded that advice as he continues to be the number one out here. Reporting from The Rock, Chris Rose, Fox Action News.
You know, you actually look like, Chris, you should be reporting, you know, either on Animal Planet, you know, somewhere perhaps.
Don't joke. I've done some of those shows out there.
Well, I believe me, I'm not joking, but I mean, if you could just see the shot right now with a backdrop, I mean, you know, you could be reporting on any number of things.
Well, I can't wait for the sprinkler system to go out here. I mean, then I'm going to look like one of the seals at SeaWorld. Even though I got like a walrus body type, it's more like a seal out here. We're waiting for that. Karros, no cracks from you.
I'm not. I was going to say it looked like a helicopter just came and dropped you off out there.
Exactly. Yeah, the Fox chopper. I have to call Seacrest if I want to use that.
Great to have Chris Rose with us here today from Anaheim. Juan Rivera, a .312 batter, 18 home runs, 62 runs batted in. Here's a guy that very quietly has gone about having an outstanding year. Of course, a lot of guys can get lost in the shuffle with all the headline acts you have in this Angels lineup.
Well, interesting, too, because when Vladimir Guerrero and Torrey Hunter, both of those guys out of the lineup, this ball club went 18-4. A large reason, that man right there, Kendry Morales, the man up at the plate, Juan Rivera. And you talk about the numbers that he's putting up. He's also a guy who's in the top 10 as far as hardest to strike out. So he puts the bat on the ball.
Lined into left field, it will fall in front of Murphy, a base hit. I mean, this Angels team, they have 10 players hitting above the league average. The league average is .265. They have 10 guys hitting above that. They have 6 players hitting above .300. We told you they lead the major leagues in so many offensive categories, including average, runs, hitting .305 with runners in scoring position. They have over 1,000 hits. And they've always had good offenses, but not quite sure they've ever had an offense top to bottom the way they're going right now.
Well, and it's, as you mentioned, the way they're going right now, and the question is, can they sustain this for the rest of the season and take this into the playoffs? I mean, you look at those numbers. I mean, they're almost gaudy. And you're talking about doing it without Vladimir Guerrero and Torrey Hunter in just for the last few weeks.
Well, here's a guy, Kendry Morales, that has made everybody forget about that contract offer they made to Mark Teixeira. I mean, you talk about the best money you never spent. The Angels, after trading for Teixeira last year, offered him a contract somewhere around the neighborhood, 8 years, $160 million. Well, look at the numbers between the two this year. Batting average for Morales, only 5 fewer home runs, 10 fewer runs batted in. But talk about effect on a team payroll. That's a $19 million spread.
Well, and it allowed general manager Tony Regans to go out and do some other things, whether it was going out and acquiring Brian Fuentes to have some reserves also to go out and get some guys. You know, but again, I don't think anybody could imagine that he would be this good, though. And the other thing, too, though, offensively, we saw the numbers. You see a breaking ball here. Defensively, Mark Teixeira is still much better and brings a lot than what Kendry Morales. Kendry Morales is serviceable, but not the player defensively that Mark Teixeira is.
I mean, it was so bad after Morales originally defected from Cuba back in '05. I mean, Mike Scioscia nicknamed him Brick Hands because he was so poor defensively and had a ways to go. But man, getting this chance each and every day, he is making the most of it. Something you pointed out earlier. It's one thing to get the chance. It's another thing to say, I'm your first baseman for a long time to come.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of guys get an opportunity. And at this level, you get an opportunity, you're excited, but then you have all the pressures. And it's pressure that you put on yourself. And you say, oh, is that real pressure? Is that, is that feeding your family pressure? No, but it's a pressure to succeed. And sometimes that's too daunting for guys. And, the career is very short-lived.
1 on, 1 out. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Rivera, one of the few guys that does not run on this Angels team. You get a look at Texas defensively, shading him to pull a couple of steps. Runner going, and it's fouled out of play. And, of course, that is very much a huge part of the Angels game, the running game.
Well, they're a team that puts constant pressure, and it doesn't matter who's out there on the base pass. Here in a situation right now, you've got a 3-2 count. Mike Scioscia sending Juan Rivera. If there's a ball hit, especially to center field or right field, you're probably going to see Juan Rivera try to go to third.
Swing and a miss, throw to second. This should end the inning, and it will. Strike him out, throw him out, double play, ends the second. No score. We're back after a break from your local Fox station. Baseball. 6 up, 6 down for Jared Weaver. He picked up his 500th career strikeout in the opening inning. And that is only the second batter he has missed on the first pitch out of the strike zone. David Murphy, Taylor Teagarden, and then Elvis Andrus, 2 up in the Texas third. Lazy fly ball, short left field, an easy play for Rivera. 1 away. Let's take a peek ahead to Fox Saturday Baseball next week. Ryan Howard, the NL East leading Phillies take on the Braves. Some will see the Giants take on the New York Mets. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Gillette Body Wash returns next week, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on Fox. Are you working next weekend?
I am. You're going to see that Mets ball club, right? Are you heading to New York?
Yes, you and I are going there.
No, I'm not. I'm going to Atlanta.
All right, I thought you were coming.
How about
with
that
me.
Mets club? I mean, man, oh man, more injuries, decimated, hamstring injuries. Jeez.
I tell you, I'm looking forward to seeing the Giants. Now, there's a team I know you have seen this year. but I have not had a chance to see them play yet.
I'll tell you, great pitching staff. Last night's loss, though, could come back to bite them. I mean, that was something. They had an opportunity to pick up a game on the Dodgers, end up losing to the Reds. 5 errors. Not a way you want to go if you're competing for a playoff spot.
No, you can't lose games when you have Lincecum starts. I mean, whether he gets a loss or not is irrelevant. When you're a team that's fighting for the playoffs and you've got your main horse on the mound, those are games you've got to win.
Well, and again, not to take anything away from the Reds, but they have not been playing great baseball, in the last month or so.
Teagarden, a high pop up, short center field. Who wants it? The second baseman, Kendrick, falls off high ball. 2 up, 2 down. Time for a direct TV game break. Here's Chris.
That's right. You heard the boos. Big Poppy had his presser earlier today. His first at bat against CC Sabathia, the harmless flyout. Now 1 for his last 21. Boston and New York scoreless in the second. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. Guys, the Red Sox have lost the first 2 and 4 in a row overall.
And the Yankees have won 5 in a row overall, and now all of a sudden have a 4.5 game lead in that American League East. First pitch swinging again. This time the youngster Andrus. 3 up, 3 down. 6 fly ball outs, 3 strikeouts for Weaver. He's retired all 9 to face him. Still no score. Kendrick and Mathis against Kevin Millwood. A first pitch fastball to Gary Matthews Jr. and there's a strike. Of course, Matthews had the monster year back in 2006 with the Rangers and really went to the payday signing the big free agent contract to come to Anaheim. And really, unfortunately for him, things have just not played out.
Well, they haven't played out. He's been hurt, and when he did get an opportunity, didn't really perform well. The outfield has become crowded, but he's always been ready to play. Torrey Hunter goes down. He's been given an opportunity, and he's done well as far as getting on base.
Broken bat flare into left field, and Matthews aboard to start the Angels' third inning. Third hit against Kevin Millwood. Well, he caught up with Ron Washington in between innings, and he certainly has to feel good about where his team is right now with less than 2 months to go in the year. Right, Skip?
You know, and a lot of it has to do with the pitching and the defense. You know, if you can consistently do that on a daily basis, you always find yourself in ball games, and that's what's been happening to us this year. And our offense been doing enough to put runs on the board that we was able to have a little success.
Wash, so far this game, a lot of first pitch swinging with your offense. Talk a little bit about your offensive philosophy, but what you have to do because of the personnel with this ball club.
Well, I tell you, I'm sitting here and I'm watching us do that, but they're pitches that are right there, and we're just missing them, you know. And I think as we go through the ball game, if he continue to throw first pitch strikes right there where they are, we'll finally start connecting. It's when you're swinging at first pitch strikes and not doing much with them as far as swinging and missing or rolling them and stuff like that. You know, we just missed some pitches. Hamilton missed one, Jonesy missed one. I think Elvis just missed one, and Murphy just missed one. So I think as we go along, we'll start catching those pitches.
Ron, very quickly, if one thing has to get better over the next 2 months to get into the playoffs for your team, what is it?
Well, I just think we just got to get more consistent offensively, and if we do that, I think we'll be fine. You know, I just think we haven't hit our stride yet offensively, and if we can put about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games a row swinging the bat the way we're capable of, I think that'll do good for us.
Ron, continued success. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Well, we really enjoyed our conversation with him earlier today. Meanwhile, on that line drive the other way off the bat of Howie Kendrick, still no scoring decision on this play.
Well, it's not like the ball was hit extremely hard. You know, Hank Blaylock comes off, and I think what happens because it's an inside-out swing, the ball kind of tails away from Blaylock. And again, when you're an infielder, tough to pick up the ball in day games because of the crowd. You don't always see it right off the bat. Blaylock just had trouble picking it up.
Well, it looked like it still should have been an error, and it is scored an error on Blaylock. There are 2 on with nobody out. And here's Jeff Mathis. The Rangers believe he may be up there to bunt. It's in the dirt, ball 1, and the runner stay put. You know, it's one thing, and Eric, you and I have talked about this when we've done Angels games in the past. You know, when you look at the organization of the Angels, top to bottom, it's hard to believe there would be a better franchise in the game today. Not only what they do generally at the gate, a little smaller crowd today than what we're used to seeing, but you know, they're packing them in pretty much each and every night. They have the payroll to bring in the big name player, but they're still producing their own players by far and away at a higher rate than most other organizations. But even the little things, the details, asking guys in their minor league system, whether they're a leadoff hitter, whether they're an 8th hole hitter, a middle infielder, a guy that hit 50 home runs, you know, they ask guys to bunt, they ask guys to hit and run, they ask them to steal bases, put down a suicide squeeze, be a runner on a suicide squeeze, and there's a game plan to all of them. Well, there is, and we just saw Tony Regan's the general manager. There's Mike Scioscia, and I think it all starts with Mike Scioscia. When he came over to this organization, you know, he had to instill that philosophy and sell that philosophy to this ball club. And what he did is he didn't just instill it at the big league level. He made it a part of the rookie ball curriculum, A ball, double A. So you learned the game. So when you came to the big leagues, you've been playing that style for your entire minor league career. I mean, look at this. You can't roll it out there any better than that. That'll be a sacrifice. And the Angels have him at second and third with 1 out in the inning. Well, Jeff Mathis here does a nice job bunting the ball. Kevin Millwood comes in, has nothing to do but get the ball over to first base. You know, this is something we talked about at the top of the show. You know, as a key to the game, you can't give the Angels extra outs. Hank Blaylock, by not catching that ball at first base that Kendrick hit, has really given the Angels an opportunity to have a multi-run inning. Well, here's Sean Figgins, 36 RBIs out of that leadoff spot. They're conceding the run in the middle infield defensively. They'll come to the plate. Anything hit to the corner. Strike 1 to Figgins. You know, I think looking at the numbers of this Angels ball club, when we talk about the offense and what they've done and the hits and the batting average, basically the runners in scoring position hitting over 300. You
and that's something as a ball. It's one thing to have an individual. You see Omar Vizquel getting some sunglasses. And that's something that when you're out there playing, you're thinking, you know what, I'll just wait a couple pitches or I'll get it next inning, blah, blah, blah. Because to call timeout in the middle of an inning to go get him, you're thinking, it's kind of embarrassing. But what's more embarrassing is when you drop a ball because you didn't see it in the sun.
I didn't miss by much on the inside edge. 1 ball and 1 strike to Figgins. Well, you look at Figgins and Abreu. What these guys have done to right-handed pitching this year is almost beyond belief. As Figgins is spun out of the way on a fastball in. I mean, these two guys have on-base percentages over .420 against right-handers.
Yeah, they've been astounding. There's no question about it. Figgins at the top of the lineup. Abreu in the middle has been that RBI machine. Figgins, though, has really set the tone. I mean, he's leading all of Major League Baseball in runs scored.
Weak pop-up here will not get the job done. And the third baseman, Young, squeezes it tightly for the second out of the inning. That's a big one for Kevin Millwood.
You don't see that too often, but again, you got to remember, Kevin Millwood, one of the top pitchers when he's healthy in the American League. A real horse, does not give in, goes right after guys, and pounding Figgins in ends up getting him to pop up to Michael Young at third.
Well, again this season, the Angels are leading the major leagues, batting with runners in scoring position as a team over 300. And that has a chance to rank among the best of all time in a single season. The best since '74, that '99 Cleveland team hit .309. The '98 Rangers team, the 5th best since then, at .303, and then the Angels right behind them this year. 1-1 on Eric Ibar.
Well, again, that's the thing that I look at this Angels ball club, and while it's easy to get excited about what they've done, it's also a reason to step back and be a little hesitant to jump on the wagon, just because can they maintain this for the next 2 months?
Well, they're not going to do it today, at least in the bottom of the 3rd inning. They had runners at second and third after the air with only 1 out and failed to score. So the top of the order coming up is Vizquel, and then Michael Young for Texas in the 4th in a scoreless game. Valspar Paint, Valspar, the beauty goes on. By priority mail, flat rate boxes only from the Postal Service, a simpler way to ship. And by Chevy. Top of the fourth inning, a scoreless game. Kevin Millwood pitching around an error by his first baseman Hank Blaylock. Had runners at second and third with one out. And gets a pop up and a ground ball to retire the side with no damage done.
This pitch just completely fooled Omar Vizquel. Breaking ball just keeps running in on his hands.
Another off-speed pitch, and Vizquel, his homelands, one of his homelands, all-time greats, and there have been some good ones. A couple of them in a game today. The most hits among all players born in Venezuela. Still very much enjoys playing the game. He does miss the shortstop position. He told us that before the game today, but wants to continue to play.
He does, and when he had the 4 hits last night, I kidded him. I said, man, you do too well. They're going to have to play another few years.
There's strike 3 called. He didn't like that from the home plate umpire, Paul Lemel.
Well, after constantly being pressed in, Weaver goes the outside part of the plate, a fastball tailing away. All Omar can do right there is just look at it. He can't swing at it. It's too far outside. He's not going to reach it. Just has to hope the home plate umpire doesn't call it for a strike.
Fly ball straight away center field. An easy play out there for Matthews, and Young retired. 2 up, 2 down. Boy, Weaver very much on top of his game early on today. Has not allowed a base runner. Is fan 4. A 13-game winner in his first full year in the big leagues after going 11-2 in 06. After he was a #1 draft choice, you may remember, out of Long Beach State University. And then last year, a little bit of a hiccup, still an 11-game winner.
Yeah, very solid. And really this year, with all the problems of the staff, I mean, he's been one of the consistent players in the rotation.
First pitch swinging into left center field, driven by Marlon Byrd. This will go to the wall. And Byrd, with a 2-out double, becomes the first Texas base runner against Weaver today.
That's what Ron Washington was talking about when he said he didn't really mind these guys going up there and swinging at the first pitch. He felt that they were getting good swings, and they just hadn't squared anything up. You see Marlon Byrd, the head down right there, getting extension, driving the ball to left center. You know, I think I'd still, though, make Weaver work a little bit, especially with the fact that this staff had to go to the bullpen early last night. You know, that's really the first hard hit ball that the Rangers have had. You know, it's one thing to be aggressive, but have a plan.
It's a hit in 10 straight games now for Marlon Byrd. He's in scoring position for Andrew Jones. Ball 1 away. Jones flied out to center his first time up. Good fastball there on the outside corner to even the count.
Well, and you can see what they're going to do with Andrew Jones. They're going to throw the breaking ball away, keep the fastball away. He has a tendency to pull off, but if you throw that breaking ball in the inner half or hang it on the inner half, the fact that he pulls off, he's shown this year that he can hit it out of the ballpark.
Of course, Andrew has not been great this year, but boy, compared to last season, a lost year indeed as a Dodger.
Well, and that's what you say. If you just looked at the numbers by themselves, you say, yeah, 17 home runs, that's okay, but 38 RBIs. But compared to what he did in Los Angeles, or what he didn't do in Los Angeles last year, you know, he's comeback player of the year.
So many great years for Jones after coming up with the Atlanta Braves. A fastball is high. And it just got to a point that even though his production was still pretty good, last year too in Atlanta wasn't what it used to be, and the Braves just made the decision for what the price tag was going to be that they just had to part ways. 2-2 to Jones. Breaking ball in the dirt, smothered nicely by Mathis, keeping Bird at second base.
Well, and you can see, Weaver continuing to go on the outer half of the plate, breaking ball, fastball. With 3-2 situation with first base open, again, go off the plate, outside, or the corner of the plate. You don't want to mess around with anything middle or in. You end up walking him, go after Hamilton with a runner on first and second.
3-2 to Andrew Jones. Weaver a glance back at Bird and bring it. Struck him out. Looked like he pulled the string on him there. 5 strikeouts in the game for Weaver. Still no score. Bottom of the 4th inning of a scoreless game. Game 2 of this 3-game weekend series. The Rangers came in here and rolled the Angels last night. And Texas has beaten Anaheim 8 of 10 games so far this year. Breaking ball hit off the end of the bat, out of play. 0-2 to Bobby Abreu. Billwood came with a fastball just off the inside edge. Even behind the count, a couple of strikes. Remarkably, to tell you what kind of year Abreu's having, when he was down in the strike 0-2 in the count, still nearly a 300 batter. What a play by Blaylock to take away a hit.
Just a reaction play right here. He gets a nice little hop right there and then gets up quickly. You know what I like about this play is he doesn't worry about throwing it to the pitcher. A lot of first basemen like to just make that flip. He takes that air possibility out of there and gets over there. Like to see a first baseman that hustles over to the bag instead of throwing it to the pitcher.
Now Vladimir Guerrero, who bounced out sharply to third, is only at bat. Of course, he's missed nearly 60 games this season. after a pair of trips on the disabled list. And many feel like this is the final year for Guerrero in an Angels uniform.
Well, it could be. And you look at this shift, the Rangers still respect his ability to pull the ball. You see 3 infielders on the left side of the infield. But he's not the same player. He's not the player that has put the 300 average, 25 home runs for 11 straight seasons. Only one other player in the history of the game has done that, Lou Gehrig. You know, he's a guy that provides more presence than production.
Fisted into short left field, and this will fall in for a hit. And Guerrero going hard, a big turn at first, and he'll stop right there. I mean, you think about the history of the game. It's something that Eric talked about.
But you see, this is that fastball in the inner half of the plate. You see where the ball is. It's right there on the hands. And that's where they're going to go.
That's what you just referred to a moment ago. I mean, just think about all of the phenomenal players in the history of the game. And only Guerrero and Gehrig hit 300 or better, 25 or more homers, 11 straight years. That will end this year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about one of the great players to play the game, and there's no question Vladimir sits there.
You know, and you'll get debate from hardcore, longtime Angel fans about, you know, who's the greatest Angel of them all. And, of course, a lot of that has to do with longevity more than oftentimes the production in whatever period of time you're talking about. No one has been even close to Guerrero as far as the numbers are concerned through his first 5 years as an Angel. That one swung on and fouled back out of play. I mean, nobody in the same stratosphere. Guerrero has averaged .332 average, 32 home runs, and 113 RBIs per year since he signed that 6-year deal, which expires at the end of this 09 season.
Well, and it's really a tough way to go, at least, you know, for Vladimir, for the Angels. I mean, he's not at the top of his game. What he's meant to this organization over the last 5 years is really, you can't quantify. The reality is he's not the same player as he was over the last few years. The injuries have caught up to him. You know, the fastball in on him, he doesn't get to like he used to. He's got to cheat on it. But again, he can still be a presence, and he's going to go out and give as much as he can every day.
Fouled away by Rivera. Still no balls and 2 strikes.
I think for any player, let alone a guy that has played the game at the highest level and has, you know, been at the top of the game, you know, the beginning and the end is always tough. And I think that's where we are, at least with Vladimir in this stage of his career.
0-2 on Rivera. And fouled back out of play. You really have to admire the way he's handling it, though. He's been asked this regularly since he came off the disabled list earlier this week. He said, look, I don't want to talk about me. I don't want to think about me for these last 2 months. I'm going to be fine. I want our team to get into the postseason and to win the whole thing. That's all I'm thinking about.
Well, and that's the right answer. But the reality is, I'll guarantee you, every night he goes to bed wondering if he's going to be able to regain that form that has made him one of the best players to ever don a uniform.
1-2 on Juan Rivera after a 1-out single here in the Angels' 4th inning by Guerrero. Rivera singled his first time up, was thrown out on the back end of a strike him out, throw him out double play, and has to duck underneath that.
Again, high, but an off-speed pitch, not a fastball. Got away from Millwood. But I think if there's one thing that we've seen so far in this game, Kevin Millwood will pitch inside, not afraid to go in. Angel hitters just can't anchor down in that batter's box.
Now they set up away, and he just missed it. Well, of course, speaking of pitching inside, hitting guys, just designated for assignment, Vicente Padilla by the Texas Rangers. And I mean, let's face it, you know, in a rather thin starting rotation, it is quite a bold statement by this Rangers franchise to just say enough is enough. It's time to cut bait. Runner goes, and it's in the air. Guerrero will have to retreat. Although this is played flawlessly by Vizquel for the second out of the inning. As always at Fox Sports, we're proud to support the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. The Michael J. Fox Foundation's goal is to drive the development of better treatments and a cure for Parkinson's. To learn more, please visit michaeljfox.org.
You know, I think talking about the designation of Padilla for assignment, I think speaks volumes, not so much of his ability on the field, but really the character in the clubhouse. And it doesn't speak highly of what he was bringing to the table every day. You know, and as somebody told us, you can't have 24 guys going one way and one going the other. And you know, it doesn't matter how good of a player you are or what kind of impact you have on the field. If you're not bringing it every day on the same side of the road, that may be it.
Pitch in the dirt, and Guerrero got a good jump. And he's able to get into scoring position on the wild pitch.
Well, as we talked about it, there isn't anybody on this Angel Ball Club that doesn't go first to third or won't try to get to second on a pass ball. Not always going to be successful, but the effort will be there. And that's what Mike Scioscia demands of each and every one of the players on this ball club.
Well, 2-0 on Kendry Morales. No score. We're in the bottom of the fourth inning. Of course, Morales leads this club with 23 home runs.
You can't give him anything good to hit. Again, 2-0. Let him go down to first and start over with Gary Matthews Jr.
Oh, he got a pitch to hit. Squared it up straight away center field. And this will drive in the game's first run.
That's why I said you can't give him anything good to hit. I mean, 2-0, a guy out there on base. I mean, this thing just hangs right down the middle of the plate. A guy like Kendry Morales, as a hitter, 2-0 with a runner out there, you know, you're just waiting for something out over that plate. Vladimir Guerrero easily scores. But again, you know, like to see a pitch on the corner, something off the plate. Again, if he doesn't offer at it, you go to 3-0, you end up walking him. You start over with Gary Matthews Jr.
So 1-0. The Angels here in the fourth inning. And there's a strike. Matthews singled on a broken bat, flared one over the third baseman Michael Young's head to left field, his only at bat. Well, you look inside some of the numbers, what the Angels do to teams offensively the first time through the batting order, the second time through the batting order, a third time, then a fourth. I mean, you really almost find it impossible to believe the way they just begin to wear teams down, and I mean just knock the cover off the ball. The first time through the lineup, they're a .260 hitting team. The second time, .308. Third time, .334. Fourth time through the order, they hit nearly .390 as a team.
Well, and I think it speaks volumes not only of the philosophy, but the types of players that they have in their lineup. I mean, they don't have a lot of big swing and miss guys. They have a lot of pesky guys, guys that are going to put the bat on the ball, not concerned with hitting the ball out of the ballpark. You have a middle of the lineup guy in Bobby Abreu, one of the most patient hitters the game has seen over the last 10, 15 years. You know, everybody in that lineup is a tough out. So as a pitcher, there's never that, oh, all right, now I'm facing this guy. Everybody, and then you couple that with the fact that there's no pitcher hitting because it's a DH. Lineup is potent.
3-1 on Matthews. And there's a strike. He thought that was high.
This is a breaking ball. Looks like it's outside and a bit up. Again, a 3-1 pitch. Umpire usually doesn't give a questionable call to the pitcher on a 3-1 pitch.
Struck him out on a breaking ball, and that'll end the inning. But a single by Guerrero, a wild pitch, and a double by Morales makes it 1-0. Angels at the end of 4. One run, 5 hits, no runs, 1 hit. That's about to change here as Hamilton jumps all over the first pitch, and he comes into second base sliding with a double. Now, the last couple of games, Hamilton has really been squaring up the baseball, and if he gets hot, look out.
Again, this is one of those first pitch swinging that Ron Washington said, hey, it's okay because we're swinging the bats well. Hamilton crushes this thing to the right center field gap and hustles into second. As you mentioned, he's been swinging the bat better as of late, and this is a guy that has really been non-existent as far as production for this Rangers offense this year.
Josh Hamilton led the American League last year, knocking in 130 runs. He's already been to a couple of All-Star games since coming all the way back. And Cincinnati brought him in 2 years ago. This one is hammered way back into right field by Blaylock. And the Rangers, who certainly lean on the long ball to get most of their scoring, get a 2-run home run from Blaylock and take a 2-1 lead. He is now homered in 3 consecutive games.
Well, as you mentioned, Blaylock gets a hold of that one. That's his 3rd home run off of Weaver, and he's coming into this game was hitting over 400 against him. Another first pitch swing. So, when we talked to Wash earlier, he said, I don't mind him going after that first pitch because I think we're going to get him. Hamilton off the wall, Blaylock in the seats.
So just like that, A double by Hamilton on the first pitch of the inning. On the very next pitch, a 2-run home run to the seats and right by Blaylock. Last night, the Rangers got the leadoff man aboard 5 innings and scored that leadoff man in all 5 innings. So now David Murphy with a count of 0-2. Struck him out, just blew him away on a high fastball.
Fastball with a lot of riding action, tails out of the zone. Murphy not able to catch up with it. Probably not able to reach it.
Taylor Teagarden popped up to the second baseman his only time up. He has thrown out a couple of base runners, would be base stealers in the game today. He's down a strike. Of course, Jared Saltalamacchi all of a sudden is suffering from fatigue in his throwing right shoulder. Teagarden getting some playing time right now till they get Jared all the way back.
Well, and Saltalamacchi not the only player out right now. Nelson Cruz, Ian Kinsler. You see Jarrett. I mean, but Cruz, you know, this is a guy 25 home runs out in right field. Sprained his ankle the other day. Hopes to be back soon. If anything, maybe pinch hit tomorrow.
Swing and a miss. That didn't last long. That's 7 of them now for Jared Weaver. Back-to-back strikeouts since a 2-run home run. And time now for our Gillette trivia question. Name the power player with the highest active career average versus any team in the major leagues. Give you a little while to think about that. I have a sneaking suspicion he might be in the game today. Now the rookie Andrus, who has just had a rock-solid season, playing every day at shortstop. Ranks among the American League rookie leaders, second most runs, second most hits, the most stolen bases, 20 of those. This one popped up down the right field line. Kendrick, the call and the catch, and that is that. But damage done. A double by Hamilton, a long one by Blaylock, and Texas leads 2-1. A powerful clean without dry skin. Just a picture-perfect Saturday in Anaheim, California. Angels come in 64 wins against just 43 losses. Second best record in the American League. Third best record in all of baseball, but just a 3.5 game lead over these Texas Rangers. We got win number 61 against 47 defeats here last night, and they have a 1-run lead today. Kendrick Mathis Figgins coming up against Kevin Millwood. We talked about Kendrick was sent down to the minor leagues after getting off to that terrible start, batting average at .228. He has hit over 200 points higher since he came back. Two and one.
Well, and a lot of that is, you know, and everybody talks about, well, he's using the whole field, but the reality is he's going to the right side of the field, and that's where he excels. He lets the ball get deep on him, and then he'll shoot it to right center. And we saw his first at bat, he hit the line drive to Blaylock, who was unable to handle it. You see, defensively, they play Kendrick straight up. The outfield, though, is shifted towards the right side, and reason for it, drives a lot of balls to right center.
That one driven into right center. And a diving attempt out there by Bird. He can't get it. And Hendrick motors into second with a double.
You know, you have to admire the hustle right there. But you wonder, is that really the play that you want to make in that situation? You come up, you let it bounce. You field it cleanly, you have Kendrick on first base. Now you change the complexion of the inning because of your attempt to go after the ball. It gets by you. Now you've got him at second base. Mathis up at the plate. Scioscia may bunt. Mathis may try to drive the ball to the right side to get Kendrick to third.
Of course, they asked Mathis to bunt, and he did so successfully with runners at first and second base and nobody out in the third inning. But the guys behind him could not drive into runs, and at least on the first pitch, they let Mathis swing away, clearly trying to hit it the other way. He's down a strike.
Well, and that's the point you just made. He did swing, but he's got a plan up there. His idea, his plan, move the runner to third base. How do you do that? You shoot the ball to the right side. Look now, maybe a bunt situation right now, or again, shoot it to the right.
Foul back out of play, and Millwood gets ahead, 0-2.
Millwood coming inside there. Mathis so keeping his hands inside, trying to shoot the ball to the right. Now as a hitter, when you've got 2 strikes on you, sure, you'd like to go to the right side, but right now, all Jeff Mathis is doing is trying to hit the ball hard somewhere. He tries to hit it hard. If I'm pitching right now, I'm going hard in off the plate or a breaking ball out off of the plate, something that Mathis can't reach but may go after.
Went away from him, up and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Millwood given a 1-run lead for the first time today after the 2-run home run in the top of the inning by Blaylock. We had a good pitch to hit right there.
They really did. Kevin Millwood missed his spot. Teagard set up inside, but this ball hovers out over the middle of the plate. You see Teagard wants that pitch in, and you see him reach across with his glove. Mathis head on it, just fouls it straight back.
A leadoff double by Kendrick. He is the tying run at second base with nobody out here in the bottom of the 5th. Two and two. and able to tie him up and take care of Mathis for strike 3. A DirecTV game break. Let's send it out to Chris Rose.
All right, Tommy. Kate, Kurt, Goldie in New York to see their favorite Yankee, and an 8 Phil Koch. Maybe it's the former Halo Mark Teixeira who actually helps the Rangers with his 82nd RBI, fourth most with the Bigs. It's 1-zip in the Bronx. They're now moving update to the top of the 5th. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV. And guys, that score holds, and this one holds. Rangers and Red Sox tied atop the AL wildcard.
Well, we brought it up earlier. It is so hard to believe. It really is. I think oftentimes so many of us, and guilty as charged here, Eric, as it's ball 1 to Sean Diggins. You look at a team because of the expectations, and you just assume they're going to be there when all's said and done. And now, not so fast.
Well, I think just about anybody in baseball about 3 weeks ago would have told you if you had to pick a team to win everything, Boston Red Sox would have been the answer for a lot of Major League Baseball people. And it just shows you how quickly things can turn. Now, they've had some injuries. Mike Lowell hasn't been able to come back. David Ortiz has struggled. The pitching hasn't been there. Jason Bay hurt. And you look at those standings right there, and as you mentioned, Boston loses today. And again, you can't discount Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
That is the team that really has everything in their own hands. They've got a number of games against the Yankees, the Red Sox. They've got a few more with the Rangers. And again, they have not played their best baseball.
2-1 to Figgins with a tying run at second, and a breaking ball that he doesn't chase, misses down and in. 3 balls and a strike. Three and 1 the count on Figgins, and a breaking ball is taken. Ball 4. NFL season right around the corner, and on Fox we have a couple of preseason specials beginning Thursday, August the 20th. August the 20th, the Eagles take on Peyton Manning and the Colts, and Friday, August the 21st, back-to-back nights. The Titans and the Cowboys both start at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, in high definition only on Fox. Still so hard to believe. There's not been an NFL team here in Southern California working on, what, 15 years now?
It's been quite a while. There's been a number of possible venues that say they could host a team, but you always go back to it. It seems like the NFL can always.
Popped up into foul territory, and Anderson, nice play, nearly overran the ball, and Ibar retired, 2 away in the inning.
Getting back to that NFL thought, it's almost as if, the NFL holds franchise and cities hostage by saying, hey, we might move to L.A. But here you get back to baseball. Elvis Andrus makes a nice catch, hustling into foul territory. Stays with it, battles the sun. But this is a problem right here. This is a problem for the Rangers. Bobby Abreu leading all of Major League Baseball, hitting with runners in scoring position. Very patient at the plate.
We told you, a .426 batter with runners in scoring position for Bobby Abreu this year, and has knocked in 61 runs in his last 61 games. Mercy. Good first pitch breaking ball by Millwood on the outside corner.
Well, what makes him good and effective is he doesn't care if he hits with 2 strikes. He will be patient. He doesn't fear failure.
I got to ask you, Eric, and when you start looking at the career numbers of Bobby Abreu, and just a couple of days ago in Chicago, he joined an elite group. One of only 6 players ever in the history of baseball. These are a lot of numbers now, but 250 or more home runs, over 2,000 hits, over 1,000 RBIs, 1,000 runs, 1,000 walks, 300 stolen bases. I mean, these are clearly numbers that you say to yourself, man. And listen to the names of the other 5 who have done it before Abreu. Barry Bonds, Craig Biggio, Joe Morgan, Ricky Henderson, Willie Mays. You know, when do you start to ask yourself the question, is Bobby Abreu a Hall of Fame player? Swing and a miss. That's a Hall of Fame out right there for Kevin Millwood. So a leadoff double, and the runner never moves. The Angels strand two. The Rangers still lead by a run. Get DirecTV by Caduet and by Pepsi. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. Top of the orders for the Rangers against Jared Weaver. And Omar Vizquel down a strike. Vizquel's had a hard time against Jared Weaver here today. Jared has struck him out twice. And again, he gets ahead in this bat at 0-2.
Well, it's not just about striking out twice. It's basically being overmatched. There really haven't been many good swings at all. He's looked tentative at the plate, looked confused.
Not a single ground ball out in the game today by Jared Weaver. 8 fly ball outs, 7 strikeouts. And that's an 8th strikeout. Third time that Vizquel has gone down on strikes. We invite you to tune in to the MLB Network for the 2009 RBI World Series presented by KPMG. Watch the boys senior championship game on Sunday, August the 9th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Michael Young has popped to second and fly to center. Trying to keep alive a 14-game hitting streak. 0 for 2 today. Two hopper down to Figgins. Recovers after the bobble. 2 away. Well, now you can find Fox Sports on both MySpace and Facebook. Favorites of Eric Karros. You can get breaking news, video clips, widgets, and so much more. Go to myspace.com/Fox Sports or facebook.com/Fox Sports and join the community.
Giving away all my personal habits.
I wouldn't
surfing
dare
the web,
do that.
you know, and Facebook. Wow.
I mean, everywhere we go, you know, these different managers and teams are seeking out your advice on this question or that question. I mean, I'm just along for the ride, riding that Caro's horse from coast to coast.
Sense a little bit of sarcasm.
No, not at all. No, that would not be my style. You know much better than that. You know, you're the one guy that so frequently gets to see, you know, these two teams in Southern California and the greater Los Angeles area, the Angels and the Dodgers. And I mean, both of these teams just having great seasons.
Well, they really are. And again, because they're West Coast, they don't always get the national attention. You know, what they do at night doesn't always get reported the next day just because of the time zones. And really, you know, Southern California baseball fans have been treated to two great seasons, two exciting seasons up to this point. You know, but still, both of these ball clubs, we're talking about the Angels or the Dodgers, you know, there are some areas of weakness, and they're having great seasons. The record looks great, but from a postseason standpoint, you know, they are vulnerable.
Well, you know, this Angels team, we were talking about this with Mike Socia before the ball game today. I'm going to be fascinated, to be honest with you, to watch this team when the playoffs do roll around. Of course, that's if they get in, and nothing's a given, as we pointed out with Boston already, and the way things have turned around for that club over the last month. But, you know, knowing that they've always been that one bat or maybe two bats short, and the pitching was always so good, but you felt like even if they gave up 4 runs in a game, that they were in big trouble. You know, this year, can they limit the other team from scoring 7? Because they're more than capable of scoring 8.
Off of Jared Weaver in the 5th inning. Put the Rangers ahead. And that's where they are right now, 2-1. Our Flomax replay of the day.
Vladimir Guerrero, Juan Rivera, Kendry Morales against Kevin Willwood here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Now you got to remember, Kevin Millwood was unable to make his last start. So I'm sure that Ron Washington, pitching coach Mike Maddox, realized that it's been the better part of almost 2 full weeks, a week and a half, as that one is blasted into left field by Guerrero, and this game is tied. And now a couple of home runs since coming off the disabled list.
Well, Vladimir Guerrero right now gets an off-speed pitch on the inner half of the plate. It's very similar to the home run he hit the other day against the Chicago White Sox against John Danks. It's that inner half off-speed pitch that he's able to turn on and still has the power to drive it well out of the stadium. You see that? You see Teagard where his glove is. It's way over here. It was supposed to be over there. That is something. Boom. He just gets the extension. You know, again, the book on Vladimir, throw him hard inside, not the soft stuff inside.
We were just starting to talk about Millwood having not started a game since he injured the muscle in his backside back on the 26th of July. So the last time he pitched this deep into a game, you got to go to the 20th of July. And even before this inning began, they had Eddie Guardado getting loose in their bullpen. 88th pitch of the game for Millwood. A breaking ball sweeps away from Rivera. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, he's pitched well, and he really hasn't. You see every day Eddie Guardado warming up down there. But again, Millwood has thrown well. And again, you mentioned he hasn't thrown in 2 weeks.
Short right center field. Bird drops the shades and makes a catch. 1 away.
See, not even really looking at the ball, but has the extension. And I think most important for me, you know, look at the eyes up there. That's not how you want to do it unless you are one of the best players to ever play the game. You can get away with it. But for me, you know, Millwood misses his spot. And when you miss your spot like that, Guerrero still has the ability to hit mistakes and to punish the other team. Again, we've seen the pattern. They bust him hard with fastballs, anything hard in. The book on Vladdy, you can't get around on the hard stuff, but boy, I'll tell you, that soft stuff still ends up in the seats.
Now I got to ask you a question.
Uh-oh.
I mean, when I see that replay and the shot of his eyes, do you think that's a case where he already knew he had contact and he was looking up to see where it was going? Or, I mean, do you think a guy really just hit a home run without even looking at the ball?
No, I think he saw it. I think that he had his swing path going into a certain spot where he thought the ball would be.
That one ripped into right field, a base hit by Morales. Because you know everybody at home is saying, we teach our kids to watch the ball when it's coming from the pitcher. And here they're watching Vladimir Guerrero hit balls in the seats when he's looking the other way.
But what I will say about that is if that ball is going where it's supposed to go, he's got no chance. It doesn't break the way it's supposed to break. That ball hit Vladimir's bat. That bat didn't necessarily hit the ball. That is what I'm saying. You got to watch the ball hit the bat if you're one of those young guys. And I say young guys, those 8- and 9-year-olds.
All right, time to answer our Gillette Power trivia. The power player with the highest active career batting average against any other team in the majors. It's only fitting he'd hit on a home run without even watching a ball against the Rangers, right? When you hit 400 nearly against a team in your career.
I mean, that really is amazing, that shot that we have. And Bill Webb, our director, doing a nice job of catching that.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Webb stepping away on Saturdays from his beloved New York Mets. They're just down the road in San Diego, where they suffered a heartbreaking defeat last night. One of the rare blown saves this year by Francisco Rodriguez, the former closer of these Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He just couldn't find a strike zone in the 9th inning. A walk, game-tying hit, another walk, an intentional walk, and a grand slam. Good-looking young player they have down there in San Diego, Everett Cabrera.
Yep. Shortstop.
Out on a play by Gary Matthews Jr. I like that Cabrera's game, what little I've seen of him. Very aggressive, very fast, switch hitter.
Provides a little energy, very athletic. Seen him against the Dodgers a few times. Not a lot to really be excited about San Diego if you're a fan. Just traded away Jake Peavy, but you got to give that organization some time. Be patient, because in a few years they will be back in that National League West.
1-1 to Matthews, and it's a fastball inside. Now, Millwood averages right around 107 pitches a start. He's right at 94 here with 1 in, 1 on, and 1 out in the bottom of the 6th inning. And by the way, that number is the 7th highest figure among all starters in the league. Of course, Nolan Ryan's trying to change all that. There you see the pitch total. 14 more strikes and balls so far for Millwood. But Nolan Ryan, the president of the Rangers and of course a Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher, believes that for far too long pitchers have been quote unquote babied, if you will, down at the minor league level. And that 100 pitch count doesn't have to be a magical number when you start taking guys out of games, even at the big league level. It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out in years to come. And there's a base hit in the right. Let's see if the runner will go first to third. No. Hamilton, arguably the best arm in all of baseball. And Kendry Morales not known for his speed. The Angels go first to third by far more than any team in Major League Baseball on singles, but not here.
Well, and as you mentioned, they go first to third more than any other team, and they don't do it recklessly. They do it with a plan. When you're on first base, you know where the outfielders are. You know who the outfielders are. A ball hit like that, as hard as Gary Matthews Jr. hit that, there's no way that if you're Morales that you're going to be able to get to third base with a guy like Josh Hamilton in right field.
And now looking for a hit from Howie Kendrick to snap this 2-2 tie. Millwood taking a little bit of time out there on the mound. Brought up earlier, Kendrick, after the slow start, sent back down to AAA. They brought him back up, and as the old baseball question goes, Howie looking? He's been looking real good.
Now you look at those numbers, 375 average, and
this ball hammered into right center field, but Hamilton will get there at the track. And here comes a throw into first base, and just back is Gary Matthews Jr. He thought that ball was going to fall. He was all the way at second base.
You see Josh Hamilton getting back. He gets the ball in. Right now, they're yelling, first base, first base. And Gary Matthews Jr., now watch this. He goes around second base, and now he realizes he's got to touch it. Oh, I've got to touch it. Gets a little caught up right there, because if he doesn't retouch the bag heading back to first, they can appeal it. He will be out.
2 away in the inning, and here's the number 9 hitter in the lineup, Jeff Mathis. This Angels team, a .304 batting club on the year with runners in scoring position, the best in baseball, but today only 1 for 8. Millwood has been around for a while. He understands the importance, needless to say, of this situation. Strike one. Foul, and that ball out of play. Time for a DirecTV game break. Quickly to Chris Rose.
You got it, guys. Up in the Bronx, David Ortiz on a 3-2 is going to walk. That's their first base runner of the day. But out of curiosity, how many Ks had J.D. Drew? At least one. CC with a no-no on to the bottom of the 5th. 1-6. Bronx Bombers. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on DirecTV, guys.
Chris, thank you very much. We'll keep an eye on that, obviously, right here on Fox. 100 pitches in the game for Millwood. The Angels have runners at first and second. They've tied it on a Guerrero home run here in the 6th inning. And a breaking ball is swung on and missed, strike 3. 2-2 game at the end of 6. We're back to Anaheim after a break from your local Fox station. Wash of Major League Baseball. 2 runs, only 3 hits for the Rangers. 1 man left on base. 2 runs, 9 hits, 7 left on for the Angels. Weaver and Millwood still in the ball game. It'll be Andrew Jones, Josh Hamilton, Hank Blaylock against Jared Weaver in the 7th. Andrew Jones 0 for 2. Look to the first pitch, breaking ball outside.
You know, this game, though, is very representative for each club. I mean, offensively, Texas, only 1 left on base, only 3 hits, but living by the home run. The Angels, on the other hand, they've got 9 base hits. They've left 7 guys on. Constant pressure. You know, again, I think the Angel offense, it wears you down. I mean, it wears you down physically and mentally. Constantly when you're on the mound, you have to worry about everything. You've got every pitch is a game turning pitch.
Weaver, meanwhile, has been extremely pitch efficient. We talked about all the early swinging. First pitch, second pitch, and the at-bats by the Rangers today. This will be just his 80th pitch of the game. Millwood already up over 100. Well, you can't locate any better than that. It's now 10 strikeouts in the game for Jared Weaver.
You mentioned the location, the off speed on the outer part of the plate. Gets the hitter leaning, but then he can't reach it. When you talk about the pitch efficiency, you know, with 10 strikeouts, and you're going to tell me he's only in the 80s. I mean, that's unheard of.
Well, he's 1 away from tying his career high in strikeouts of 11, which ironically enough was his last start. Lined into right field. It'll fall, and that's a second hit for Josh Hamilton. Today's Taco Bell bringing the heat pitching comparison. Both these guys are very similar as far as velocity is concerned, and they mix in a lot of good all-speed stuff.
Well, and you know, very workmanlike. Jared Weaver, you know, he's the guy that, you know, makes a mistake here and there. The Rangers capitalize. Kevin Millwood, the type of guy that gets into jams, but able to make pitches to get out of jams, and that's why we've got a 2-2 ball game.
Blaylock, first pitch swinging this time at a fastball. He got the breaking ball on the first pitch his last time up and hit it 15 rows into seats in right field.
Well, there's the off-speed pitch. Blaylock drives it into the seats, and as we mentioned earlier, that's his third home run against Jared Weaver.
Quick throw behind the batter. Hamilton saw it coming. Pitch was called a ball. It's 1-1.
Well, Mike Scioscia raves about the defensive prowess of Jeff Mathis. Here he throws from his knees and makes a good strong throw to Morales at first base. Again, not necessarily to get the runner, but to shorten up the secondary lead.
Popped up, playable for Morales. 2 away in the inning. You know, I want to go back very quickly, Eric, to the Josh Hamilton story. You and I were standing down there when he was answering all the questions about the pictures that all of a sudden showed out on the internet, on a website on the internet. And you know, I got to tell you, in a day and age where it seems like so many athletes, something will happen, and rather than just confronting the truth and laying it all right out on the table, you know, they'll go in that direction or this direction, and next thing you know, they haven't told you the whole truth. And I mean, it just seems like it never ends. And I'm not saying with all of them, but I don't know about you, but as we were standing there today listening to Josh Hamilton talk about the night in January where he fell off the wagon after having not had a drink for, what, 6.5, 7 years now, I found it so refreshing and just so honest.
Well, and I think more than anything, it just humanizes Josh Hamilton in that, you know, look, he's a baseball player. He's accomplished a lot of things, but you know what? You're still going to have those temptations. You're still going to be lured by certain things. And then the fact that he just got up and said, hey, look, this is what happened. It is what it is. I mean, I think if you're somebody that gets into any sort of trouble, I mean, that's kind of the blueprint on how to handle things. I mean, when you start trying to explain, well, what had happened was, you know, all those sort of things, I mean, you know, then you're opening yourself up to a Pandora's box. Because then you get people that are going to question things. And we, as you mentioned, we've seen it in, you know, so many other arenas.
And the way he stood there, and he had been asked in just about every way imaginable by the time 10 minutes had gone by. He had been asked practically every question that you could be asked. Not one time did he roll his eyes or get impatient or say, you know, that's enough of this, even though, you know, he had pretty much reached a point as there's strike three where there's nothing else left to say. We wish him well. Weaver has matched his career high with 11 strikeouts, a 2-2 game. And is sponsored by Hyundai. Now Hyundai Assurance can even lower your price of the pump. And by Amador. Afternoon is over for Kevin Millwood. A job well done. And only pitched 2 innings since July the 20th. He had to leave that start on the 26th at Kansas City. And he pulled a muscle on his backside, so 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs. He'll give way to Everyday Eddie. They gave him a nickname in Minnesota when he was their outstanding closer, Eddie Guardado, who has now pitched in over 900 major league games. He pitched in his 900th career game earlier this week. 21st pitcher ever and just the 5th left-hander to do it. Our Zantac relief pitcher profile. Heartburn attacking Zantac. Eddie Guardado. It's very interesting to note that Guardado this year has dominated right-handed hitters. And here to begin this inning, you have switch hitters Figgins, Ibar, straight left-handed hitter in Abreu. Left-handers are hitting over 360 against Guardado. Right-handers are batting under 200. And a routine fly ball to right center field. Hamilton will catch up with. 1 away to start the bottom of the 7th inning.
Well, you talk about those numbers. One of the reasons is Eddie Guardado does not have the great breaking ball, whether it's a slider or some sort of curveball, to neutralize the left-handed hitters. Has that fastball that will run away from a right-hander, and that changeup can keep the ball away from the righties, but all that stuff comes into the left-handed hitters. That's why they have a bit more success.
Ibarro for 3 in a game. Shows bunt, takes up and away. Eric Ibar, the best batting average in the entire league during the month of July. And this ball is in the air. Left center field. Did he get enough? Goodbye. Angels lead by 1.
Pitch out over the plate. He knows it's gone right when he hits it. As well, a guy that's hit about 20 major league home runs should. Hits it into the seats. Bill Hahn making the call right there. But the minute he hit it, especially a day game, that ball is going to jump out of here. Again, that's one of the reasons the Angels have had so much success as of late. Maestris Turris hits a home run last night. Ibar, you mentioned how hot he's been.
Ball scalded into left field, but it tails back to Murphy for the 2nd out. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball, presents the July nominees for the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award presented by Pepsi. Derek Lee, Ryan Ludwig, Jonathan Sanchez, among others, including Eric Ibar. Vote for the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month today at PepsiClutch.com. How Bobby Abreu, you know he's on that list. He was the best player on the planet in July. That's going to do it for Guardado. Darren O'Day and C.J. Wilson were both getting loose in the bullpen. We'll tell you who's coming in a moment. 7th inning, and that's a big out. And Vladimir Guerrero, who tied the game with a solo home run in the 6th inning. And here in the 7th, Eric Ibar has homered off Eddie Guardado to give the Angels a 1-run lead. O'Day had retired 18 consecutive batters before he walked Howie Kendrick in the game here last night.
Well, and also interesting about O'Day, he was left off the 40-man roster for the Angels this past winter. Mets, Rule 5, picked him up and wasn't doing much there. Texas went out and got him, and he has been absolutely lights out.
You know, and it makes you wonder when you look at Mike Maddox in his first year as a pitching coach for these Texas Rangers. Much like his brother Greg, a very humble guy. Would rather listen than talk frequently, as you were ribbing him down there in the clubhouse before the game. But what a masterful job he has done with this Rangers staff. Not the most talented staff in the league.
No, you know, I think what he's done, what Nolan Ryan has done, is instilled a mentality, you know, a frame of mind in this pitching staff. You know, Mike Maddox had a career in the big leagues, obviously not as successful as his brother, but he got by on smarts, got by on guile, and that's what he's tried to impress upon any pitching staff he's been with. He's done an unbelievable job this year with the Rangers.
We asked him, you know, what were the keys? What did you tell these guys? He said, number one, accountability. Because, you know, this is a production business. There's not a lot of fooling around going on here. Strike 3 to Guerrero. And so O'Day certainly learning well from Mike Maddox, takes care of Guerrero, but a tie-breaking home by Ibar makes it 3-2 Angels. Career high at 11 came his last start. So 22 strikeouts over his last 2 outings. And now he has a 1-run lead. He had the 1-0 advantage at the end of 4, gave up the 2-run home run to Blaylock in the 5th, and has given his offense a chance to get back at him. And that they've done. Vladimir Guerrero tied the game with a home run to left in the 6th. Eric Ibar breaks the tie with a home run in the 7th.
Well, you talk about Jared Weaver and what he's done today and in his last start. See only 89 pitches with as many strikeouts as he have. And just look at the efficiency. 27 balls, 62 strikes. You know, but I look at Weaver, and for me, it's what he means to this staff. I mean, the Angels have been just decimated this year as far as, you know, guys not living up to their capability. You see pitching coach Mike Butcher. But with Jared Weaver, you know, you have Joe Saunders, who just went on the disabled list. You have Irvin Santana, who has not pitched at all to what they had hoped. John Lackey was on the DL at the beginning of the year and has been so-so. When you get to the postseason, you're going to need that horse. And right now, Jared Weaver is that horse.
I mean, you look at the pitching staff that Mike Scioscia has had here year in and year out since really he became the manager. And I mean, the best in all the baseball year after year after year. And this has been such a different season in that regard.
Well, it has. You've had the injuries. You had the tragedy to Nick Adenhart. You know, the bullpen has changed. Shields has the patella surgery. He's out. They don't have a real setup guy. Fuentes is the new closer. The guys are still trying to find their roles. Kevin Jepson, you know, he has been that 8th inning guy. See him right there. Got a great arm. Here's Shields and Uni, and he is gone for the year.
You know, they're really leaning on young guys who have never been down this road before. Jepson, Bolger, they just brought back. And they are hoping that he will be the same guy they saw last year, not the one they saw earlier this year, Jose Arredondo.
Yeah, he had a great year last year. You know, it's funny. I was talking to some of the Angels brass about Arredondo and, you know, the numbers that he had last year. They said that, you know, he was good, but there were a lot of balls that were, you know, he'd get out of an inning, but somebody made a great play or it was a line shot right at somebody. They're going to need something because everything is here as far as what's in the system.
First pitch breaking ball. That's the first walk all day long issued by Weaver. Well, that's one thing where the manager sits in the dugout and just wants to kick something really hard. When here you give a pitcher again for the second time in the game, especially late in the game, you give him a 1-run lead. And despite the fact that Weaver's thrown the ball beautifully today, he's only given up 4 hits. You walk a batter to start an inning, barely hitting over 200 on the season.
Well, that's the thing. You just pointed it out. It's not as if you were pitching to Josh Hamilton or Michael Young. You know, Taylor Teagarden, you've got to have him earn his spot down at first. Now, you see Sean Figgins in here. He's looking for the bunt. You know, he's coming in hard right now. Almost want to pull the bat back and swing.
Which he was going to do. Pitch missed way inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, this is something Ron Washington talked with us at length about before the game today. You know, the way he came up in baseball, whether it be, you know, Minnesota system, the Dodgers system, wherever he came up, you know, he thought there was a way to play baseball, and he very much admires the way the Angels play baseball under Mike Scioscia. And of course, nothing could be further from style of play over the better part of 2 decades than the way the Rangers have played from an offensive standpoint. I mean, they've been a club forever that will hit a ton of home runs. They're still doing that. Rarely ever would they, you know, put down a sacrifice, would they hit and run, would they steal a lot of bases. They were your old school prototypical American League, hit the ball as far as you can, swing as hard as you can on every swing. He's slowly starting to change that. He elects not to bunt here. And this one is served into center field, a base hit. Well, you can take it to the bank. Vizquel's up there to bunt. Very quickly, time for the Mercedes-Benz E-Class attention assist of the game. Strike them out, throw them out, double play. Teagarden has thrown out 2 would-be base stealers today for the Angels. So here comes Vizquel, who has 3 sacrifices on the season. 2 on, nobody out. A walk and a single from the 8-hole and 9-hole hitters in the lineup. And Vizquel lays it down beautifully, advancing the runners. Tying run at third, go ahead run at second.
Well, Vizquel up at the plate, he wants to go to the third base side. Although Figgins doesn't field it, he makes Weaver field the ball. You mentioned not many sacrifices, but in his time with the Giants, he was able to get a lot of runners over.
So Socia will make the change. He has signaled for the right-hander Kevin Jepson. Standing ovation for Weaver. Angels lead by a run. The in-game box score for the Rangers. Introducing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. So after the walk, a single, a sacrifice, moving the tying run to third, the lead run to second. We're in the top of the 8th inning. The Angels leading 3-2, and now the young right-hander Kevin Jepson on to face Michael Young. This is a power arm from Jepson.
Well, power, all you need to see right there is that's a breaking ball, little cutter, 92 miles an hour. I mean, as a hitter right now, you're looking, everything is going to be hard, and harder.
Those numbers don't look very impressive for Jepson. I mean, he got off to a horrible start this year. That's the only way to define it. But it's been mighty good since the calendar turned from June to July. His ERA that month 1.35. 1-1 to Young. 2 balls and a strike.
Well, and you talk about what he's done in the last month, and that's really a credit to pitching coach Mike Butcher. Introduced a little cutter to Jepson. Jepson's taken to it. Again, that's 92, 93 mile an hour ball with movement. There's Mike.
Tying run at third, lead run at second. Wow. Knee high on the outside corner of fastball.
Yeah, and you talk numbers. I mean, who cares about what the ERA is or wins, losses, or whatever? The only number that would concern me as a hitter is 98 miles an hour, because that's what that fastball was.
2-2 to Young, and he tried that slider away and misses low. Young today has popped to second, fly to center, grounded to third. Saw the middle part of this order. Had a hard time today, but Young trying to change that right here and right now. 3-2 pitch. Struck him out on a high fastball. A huge out for the rookie Jepson, and one more to go.
You see Jepson starts in the outer half of the plate. Then they go inside just to show Michael Young that we will come inside. And then nothing but outside, outside. We're going to stay away. We'll throw a little cutter, a little curveball. And then, hey, how's a 99-mile-an-hour fastball doing?
The Angels this year, we talked about all the injuries. They've used 12 different starting pitchers this season. That's the most in Major League Baseball. And they have used 10 rookie pitchers this season, tied for the most in Major League Baseball.
You know, again, speaking to pitching coach Mike Butcher, he talked about how, you know, we'll see what happens over these next 2 months, and these guys will have to gain experience because they're going to be our postseason guys.
Runners at second and third, 2 away, and a first pitch fastball thrown right by Marlon Byrd, who was struck out twice, a double to left center in between. Wow. I mean, there's no fooling around going on here. That's 97 miles per hour. They like to say good old country hardball being played right here by Mr. Jepson. Field. Abreu there. That fastball clocked at 100 miles per hour. The rookie Jepson comes in with runners at second and third, gets 2 outs to preserve a 1-run lead. Aaron O'Day still on the mound for Texas. Bottom of the 8th inning. The Angels batting for what they hope will be the final time today, leading by a run. Take a look at the Hyundai in-game box score for the Angels. 10 base hits, only 3 runs. Game-tying home run by Vladimir Guerrero in the 6th. Go-ahead home run by Ibar in the 7th. Introducing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Juan Rivera to be followed in the 8th inning by Kendry Morales and then Gary Matthews Jr. Kevin Millwood went the front 6, allowed 7 hits and a couple of runs. Eddie Guardado gave up the tie-breaking home run to Ibar. This went off the end of the bat into short left center field. Bird is there and 1 away in the 8th. Direct TV game break time. Let's check in once again with Chris Rose.
Guys, CC's no-no is no longer in the Bronx. 2 down in the 6th with Toby Ellsbury. It's a no-doubter. Kevin Youkilis has added a hit since then, but CC now with 7 shutout innings, and the Yanks lead the Bo Sox 2-zip at the Boogie Down in the 7th. Remember to follow your favorite out-of-market team only on Direct TV, guys.
Chris, thank you very much. Of course, another Yankee win today, and that means that lead is 5.5. As a pitching change is made by Ron Washington. We'll go with the left-hander C.J. Wilson. We'll be back. This Texas bullpen. Of course, right now he's having to serve as their closer, or was, while Frank Francisco was out with a case of the pneumonia.
Well, and Wilson has good stuff. There's no question that, he's got the physical ability to be a closer. But it's not just about being able to throw the ball in certain spots or have a good break or good speed. There's a mentality that comes with getting the final 3 outs of the ball game. Not everybody has that. And there are a lot of guys that, for instance, Trevor Hoffman now, I'll tell you what, his mental toughness allows him to still be successful because his stuff isn't as great as it used to be.
With a reliever, as most of you know, earned run average sometimes can be a great illustration of what kind of a year a guy is having, but sometimes for a reliever, as there a strike 3 called to Morales, it can really look like a guy's not having a great year just because of 1 or 2 bad outings. In Wilson's case, in his last inning in a third, has allowed 4 runs. Well, your ERA for the year goes from 2.6 to almost 3.5.
Yeah, it just blows up your season as a relief pitcher. I mean, you don't want to look at your baseball card at the end of the year, see the scoreboard when you come in, because, again, you have 1 bad outing. You've almost got to have 10, 15 great outings just to get those numbers back to where they were.
In there, a strike. Well, the Angels have their closer, Brian Fuentes, throwing in the bullpen. They're an out away from bringing him into this game. Andrew Jones, Josh Hamilton, Hank Blaylock, the scheduled trio for Texas in the top of the 9th inning.
And Wilson not messing around right now, going right after the guys. Good stuff. Fastball with some movement.
Our game-changing play brought to you by Holiday Inn. Signs of change are everywhere. 2-2 game against Eddie Guardado in the 7th. And Ibar didn't miss it. Launched into left field, just his 5th home run of the year, giving the Angels his current 1-run lead. And gone swinging Matthews. Wilson fans the 2 batters he faces. And off we go to the 9th. Fuentes trying to nail it down. Inning. Mike Scioscia going to stay with a hard-throwing young right-hander Kevin Jepson before handing things over with all the lefties in the lineup after Jones to Brian Fuentes. Well, there aren't a lot of managers that do this, and it's certainly a move that you wonder sometimes why more managers don't make.
Well, and again, this is a situation right now with Mike Scioscia. Brian Fuentes has had some real rough outings as of late. Jepson just threw the ball extremely well last inning. Got a right-handed hitter, Jones, that, again, with this cutter that Jepson has picked up from pitching coach Mike Butcher. it doesn't appear that Jones has a chance. You just start it on the middle to run it to the outer half of the plate. Jones will end up back in the dugout.
What a job by Jepson indeed in that 8th inning. I mean, you can't do it any better. And gone swinging is Andrew Jones. Well, now is it automatic that Scioscia comes to get Mr. Jepson? And apparently the answer is yes.
Again, something on the outer half of the plate, a fastball right by. See Mike Scioscia coming out. The call will be Brian Fuentes. He'll come on to try and preserve a lead. 3-2 Angels, top of the 9th.
Brian Fuentes, the old question, what have you done for me lately? This guy is 30 for 34 in saved chances this year. But it just so happens he struggled on the last road trip through Chicago and Cleveland. And the fans haven't forgotten about it.
Well, as you mentioned, he did struggle in his last 3 games. He's given up 3 home runs. Has an ERA of, get this, 63. Not 6.3, 63. You know, and to be fair, he's also one of the main reasons for this Angel run. You know, starting on June 1st up until these last 3 outings, he was 17 of 17 in saves. And as bad as his ERA has been the last couple of days, it was 0.00 during that stretch.
Breaking ball outside to Josh Hamilton. 2 balls and a strike. He's coming in and trying to get the final 2 outs for his skipper. It's a 1-run ball game. Hamilton's had another good day. 2 for 3, a double, a single, a scored a run. And a 2-1 to Josh Hamilton. Fastball, a good one on the outside corner. Fuentes, of course, taking the place of Francisco Rodriguez, who left as a free agent, signing that big money deal with the New York Mets. Fuentes will turn 34 tomorrow, made his mark as Colorado's closer. 3-2, and on his last 3 outings, he has faced 13 batters. 10 of the 13 have reached base against him.
That's not good. That's not a good stretch. But that's one of the reasons Mike Scioscia has him out there. He's got to find out, is this guy going to be closing games for them?
A diving play by Ibar. That ball stung by Hamilton.
See Ibar getting a good jump, shading up the middle. And because it's a left-handed hitter, and he gets inside the ball has a slight curve towards Ibar. If that's a right-handed hitter and gets inside the ball, that ball would be going away from Ibar. Probably wouldn't be able to make the catch. Great play by Eric Ibar.
So now it's down to Hank Blaylock. He's already homered in the game. I was back in the 5th. In fact, he's homered in 3 straight games. And looks at a first pitch strike. A win today gets the game back in the standings for the Angels, which they lost last night. And it would be a 4.5 game lead over the West. And second place Texas, 0-2. Base hit into center field by Blaylock. So certainly Fuente's not fooling anybody through these first 2 batters. A pair of left-handed hitters. A rocket burn out by Hamilton. Now a base hit into center by Blaylock.
Well, not only is he not fooling anybody, he's just faced 2 left-handed hitters. Both of them have hit the ball hard. Fortunately for the Angels, Eric Ibar made a great play on Josh Hamilton. But again, if you're sitting in that Angels dugout and you're watching what's going on and the good swings that hitters are having against Brian Fuentes, it can't be too comforting.
Well, David Murphy has struggled mightily against left-handers this season. Only 8 hits and 43 at-bats against the lefties, and he's quickly down a strike.
Well, you mentioned the struggle, and this is where it really hurts to have a guy like Nelson Cruz who can't play, can't even come up to pinch hit in this situation. Ian Kinsler on the disabled list. Now Ron Washington has a short bench, and this is what he's got to go with right now. Breaking ball just freezes Murphy right there, down 0-2.
Well, again now Fuentes trying to put this game on ice. A rocket to the first baseman, and the game is over.
You got to give it credit at least for a stage for the infield of this Angel ball club. Fuentes comes in.